Hi, welcome to Freshwaves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Happy New Year, everyone. Today we're going to talk with Judy O. That's her handle on Facebook. She is a numerologist and an astrologist, and she's going to give us her predictions for 2023. And she's also going to tell us a little bit about both numerology and astrology so that we have a better understanding of what it actually is. Good morning, Judy. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Oh, we love having guests like you on. Now, you've been on the show before with Angela Dawn, and we have had a wonderful discussion with colors and things like that. So today, we're going to focus in on more of what you do. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I work predominantly with women who are in a place of uncertainty or change or transition, and they're looking to understand what's going on and what's their best path forward. And what I love about astrology and numerology and metaphysics is it connects directly with you. It connects because we're looking at your charts. It gives us a blueprint, and it gives us a picture of what's going on with the transits, and in other words, the influencing energies we have around us. And it gives us a way to strategize and move forward in a way that's in our highest and best interest, and hopefully the easiest way to move forward too.
Okay, so tell us what an introductory session with you looks like. Someone phones you, and I guess they're just wondering where life is leading them.
Yeah, well, the nice part is it always starts with a conversation and where you're at right now. I always start with numerology because it's a really fast and quick way to be able to take a look at, get oriented basically. Where are you? Where are you right now? Where are you in cycle of timing? When we're looking at 9-year cycles, where, what is your life path and purpose? And just with a few minutes of looking at those numbers, we're able to make sense of what's going on, often bringing peace and a release to stress, because often what we're looking at, often we're really hard on ourselves and we have expectations that aren't reasonable to expect of ourselves, and yet we continue to do so. Or sometimes we have a relationship that's challenging, and we just can't seem to find that point of balance and harmony. And when we look at the numbers, we can see what those pieces are, or at least a sense of direction, and at least those markers. And the key here is that I'm giving you markers and clues and insights and foresight, but you're the one making the decision. I'm not here to give you your answers. I'm here to help you find your own answers.
So when you talk about the numbers, is this the numbers of the people's date of birth?
Yes, their date of birth.
Their date of birth.
Numerology can also be done with turning the letters in your name to numbers. But I predominantly work with the birth date.
Okay. So it's a adding up of the numbers in your birthday?
Yes, it's adding up. So different combinations of the numbers added together gives you different answers. If we kind of look at just the day you were born, will give you an idea of, how people see you, or how you take on the world. When we add all the numbers together in your birthday, then that's going to give us your life path and purpose. And then that's going to help you see, okay, what are you moving towards and what's your calling, and also some of the challenges you come up, because whatever our gifts and talents are, there's the growth in order to come into your mastery, basically.
Okay, so what if two people are born on the same day? Their numbers add up exactly the same, but they are as different as night and day.
Well, that's where it gets personal, right? And that's where that conversation comes in, because it's really working with who are you, where are you right now, and how is it playing out for you? Because when we look at the numbers, there's a spectrum to them. They can be on the polarity of, opposites, but there's everything in between. And so how are we playing it out? So if I give you an example, my life path is a 3. So when we look at the 3 is about self-worth and expression and creativity, and it can go into the arts, and so that just to say communication is the piece. So there's going to be times when you're not going to communicate in the best possible way. 3 can be related to drama, which can mean you're very good at drama, but it can also mean that some of your communications can be very dramatic. And so part of your learning is, okay, how well did that drama work for you? So if you're on the stage, it might work really well, but when you're in a relationship, it might not. It might not be bringing out the best in the relationship. So what happens?
Okay, continue.
So what happens as we go through life, we're going to find certain characteristics are going to come up. So you're going to find people that support you in bringing your voice out, say just in this one example. And you're also going to find people that challenge you. So, if we're talking about self-worth, you can have people, criticism also goes with the 3. So you can have people that are criticizing, or you may take criticism too personally, and then so you shut down your voice. The other side of it is that same criticism could be the fire that lifts you up and makes you an excellent speaker.
Wow. And so does the time of the day that you were born play into this as well?
It does when we start looking at your astrology. From a numerology point of view, I haven't come across anything that works with it from that level.
Okay. How did you get into all of this?
The numerology I came across when I started with feng shui, and I was away on a weekend retreat to learn more about feng shui, and they had Gordon Spowett came in and spoke about numerology, and it spoke to me right away. In fact, I got an answer just by learning that. For I think it was probably an hour, maybe 2 hours of an introductory session, I got an answer I'd been looking for myself for a really long time in trying to resolve a relationship issue. And so obviously it got my attention. And as I pursued the new feng shui, what happened was I was using the numerology right from the get-go, because what I found is it just gives us this place of getting oriented. Where am I right now? What am I moving towards? And am I on track? And so I was out of the ordinary with other feng shui practitioners in practicing that. And what I learned years later was that when you move into Chinese metaphysics, which I also work with, and Chinese astrology and such like, what I learned was that the masters actually use the astrology, and in this case, when we're talking about numerology, as a way to assess and as a way to diagnose. And then the feng shui was actually the prescription to support the outcome that you wanted to achieve. So what's happened now for me is, by knowing with the numerology gives us that starting point, the astrology allows me to go in deeper and get different perspective and foresight. Both of them give me the opportunity to be able to look at what's coming down the road. What are the influences? And so when we understand, it's kind of like knowing what the weather is. If we know what the influences are, then we can make choices that are good for us and good for the outcome we want to achieve.
Well, that seems to make perfect sense. And I guess the more layers you add to it, the more accurate it becomes.
Yes, because it's like compounding interest, right? It's like there's more supporting. Way back when I did more of the feng shui, what I used to say is like, picking up the dominoes. Oh, we've got this one and we got this one and this one, but maybe there's a gap. But the more we can bring up, then when you tip the first domino, it's like ding, 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 ding. And that's kind of how things happen. We start to open your path forward. And it's like the efforts to tip the first domino, and then the rest fall in line.
Wow. So is it safe to say that you can come to the conclusions of which are the positive takes or the negative takes on number combinations based on your experience with dealing with numerology?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, whoever you're going to work with numerology or astrology, it's going to be through their experience and their applications, right? And how they translate it. So that's what's always going to be important to whoever you're working with, is that they've got the kind of background that you're looking for and the past experience that's going to support you in getting the kind of answers you want. So, for example, like, I don't do the entertainment side of numerology because for me, I mean, okay, it can be fun and, but for the most part, to me, it's a powerful tool to help us step into our own personal power and our individuality and stand in our strength and from a place of peace inside of ourselves and balance and that harmony of knowing that basically it's your authenticity. It's what you think, what you say, and what you do are lined up. And that's, ultimately that's where we're all heading, at least in my mind. We'd like to think that.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because if you do line up those elements, then chances are you're heading down the right path, so to speak.
Yes. And I believe too, the other side of it is that when you're lined up within yourself, then everything changes. Our communication changes. Like, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and as an entrepreneur, but even in life, like, the more centered and grounded and clear we are within ourselves, it's easier to hold boundaries. It's easier to say something and people receiving it because you don't have gaps around it within yourself. You're clear in it. Like, it's when we have the doubt and the second guessing and the questioning, should I say this? That's where the challenges sneak in. Whereas when we're lined up, it's like, yes, you may come across somebody or a situation that's not on the same wavelength, but then, from a point of view of, say, as an entrepreneur, well, guess what? They're not your right client. So you can save yourself a lot of stress and the client a lot of stress because because either you are lined up or you're not lined up. And I mean, that's where all the niching and stuff is coming in now, is finding, who are you and how do you do business? Some people, want to do business in a very bold and what do I want to say, like, big way. And some people just want to do it in a quiet way, but still having a big impact. But just because they're not splashing it across social media and such, like, doesn't mean they're not having a big impact.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? In terms of relationships, if you are hesitant and if you don't know which direction you're going in, that leaves you susceptible to the narcissists among us who will sense that vulnerability and that unsuredness and pounce. And they can really get a hold of you and perhaps lead you in directions that you didn't really want to go in. I think when you're more self-assured and you have a little bit of a path and direction laid out in front of you, and like you said, the pieces are coming together and you finally see which way you want to go, and you go that way with some sort of self-confidence, you are more successful in what you do.
Yes. And again, it's that compounding interest, right? The more that you move in the direction that it's in alignment with you, the more you get good results. The more you get good results, the more you trust it. The more you trust your intuition, the more the more confident you feel. And so it just gets stronger and stronger, and you become you have more core certainty that the choices you're making are good choices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got more core certainty that, you know, again, with the entrepreneurs, you're working with the right people. You got more core certainty in your relationship that, you know, no, I don't tolerate that behavior. And it's not, and it helps us get out of the fight, because it's like standing in your authenticity. And, you know, if you kind of want to look at a theme of where we're going, if we hop over to astrology and we look at, you know, where are we right now? Well, the biggest thing that's going on right now and for the next 20 to 200 years is this place of standing in your authenticity. But it's not about, you know, the old egotistical, you know, has to be my way. It's, this is who I am, and then what do I bring to the benefit of, from a big point of view, humanity, or to my, you know, to my family and my group, in me being me. And that's where we're going. It's not about moving into the egotistical and the selfishness, but it's moving into the self-centered. Because if I'm at my very best, then I'm going to be the best person for you to be around if we've got a resonance. You know, I mean, we're all going to come across contrast as well, and contrast can help us expand into new things, or contrast can help us to see, no, that's not for me. But if we start, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, if I take care of myself to the best of my ability, then I'm not needy. And not to say we don't need each other and to help each other, because we absolutely do. But it's the more we're within our own, bringing out the best in ourselves, then the more we have to offer somebody. Mm-hmm. And if we are fulfilled, because there's a lot of emptiness these days, there's a lot of overgiving and stuff, and there's a lot of need right now. And it kind of ties in from a numerology point of view for this year, is we need to take time to fill our cup. We need to have space that, you know, we're not constantly running and running on empty. We need time to recharge. We need time to reorient and to review and realign, you know. And if we look at astrology, you know, I mean, a lot of people are worried about, you know, retrogrades or Mercury retrograde. But essentially the planets going into retrograde are telling us, okay, in this area of life, which would depend on the sign that, the house that it's in for you, and or this sign, which is going to be, you know, let's say the topic or the areas of life where it's going to affect, then it just gives us a chance to, okay, how am I going to revise? How am I going to review? What if I slow down a little bit instead of going, you know, full speed ahead and recharge? And so, you know, we look to nature, we look to the cycles of astrology and numerology, and we can see that when we move in sync with them, or when we take on our own rhythms and cycles, we move into that balance and that harmony. You know, like so often we think we should be in full bloom 24/7 all the year. And we look to nature and nothing's in full bloom that long. But we live in a society where there's these, expectations. Like I said, working with entrepreneurs, like, sorry, but you can't be in harvest mode all the time. And yet we have these expectations, stressing ourselves that why aren't I there, and doing everything you can to be there. But at the end of the day, it's not reasonable.
Nor sustainable.
So when we start moving into these cycles of nature and recognizing them, and we start applying them to our life, and then, you know, we all know the seasons. We do things differently in the seasons, you know, especially from from growing point of view, you know. but also from the point of view of we have our own seasons. We have our own seasons in life. We have we have the spring season of high energy and fast action, and then we have the fall season of slowing down and moving into the recharge of winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our lives used to be geared a lot more to the seasons. We did have summer with spring with the planting, summer with the cultivating, fall with the harvest, and then winter repairing things that we need to use in the coming season of planting. And it made perfect sense. Things just seem to have more of an order. And now, like you said, we expect to do everything all the time.
Yeah. You take the harvest in the fall, if that's when, or the summer harvest, and you canned it to be eating it in winter when it wasn't available.
Yeah. And right now, everybody expects fresh produce in the middle of February when the fields are covered in snow, folks.
Yeah.
What makes you think that you should be eating certain things that are no longer in season? Or they're not meant to weather the winter.
Yeah, and we can look at that from a financial point of view. Make hay when the sun shines.
Yes.
And then you store some away for times when it's not so readily available, and then you recharge again.
So when you're putting this into someone's life perspective, you've done the numerology and then you go into the astrology. Do you ever find yourself in a position where you could look at someone's astrology and say, you know what, this job just isn't for you. You need to find a new job. Or this person isn't for you. You actually probably should find a new person. Or do you always find a way of working out what they already have and making it work?
That's where I like to go. To me, it's sometimes just by knowing the differences, for example, right? Anybody can do this. They can just take a look at, just take your birthday and, is it an odd or an even number? And then look at people around you. Are they odd or even numbers, And you're going to see the relationship, that certain things about the people with the odd numbers are going to be different than the people with the even numbers. And so I'm all about working with, what have you got? And, what are we going to do with it? Now, when it comes to if something's, how do I put it? Yeah, what I like about the timing piece is it can help us to see when it's maybe not the right time. When I look at Chinese astrology, you're looking at, there's, everybody knows there's the Chinese animal each year and I'm born in the year of the ox or whatever it is. But we actually have what's called 4 pillars, so 4 animals, and each of those animals represent different parts of our life. So again, going to the entrepreneur, there's one piece that's going to be related to, say, the internet and big external circles. And there's another piece that's going to be related to your business. Well, you can have a year where you're not going to be getting a lot of attention, or you're actually going to, you can almost translate it as you won't not seen in that social media aspect of your chart. Well, if you're about to drop, tens of thousands of dollars on a marketing campaign, that would be a good time for me to say, hey, listen, it's your free will and choice to do whatever you want, but the success may not be as good this year as it could be at another time. But if we take a look and we say, look, within your business, so closer circles and maybe past clients, that the energy is there to support your marketing, well, then that's just giving you your strategy for the year.
Yeah, I guess it's all about timing, isn't it? So much of life is about timing. Good timing.
Yeah, because there's the cycles. There's cycles of good fortune, and there's cycles of not so much. It's not, just maybe, just the wind isn't beneath your wings for specific areas. But the whole thing is, it's, whether you're looking at the planets or whatever, it's different things in different areas of your life. And the other thing too is, it's like, when you're looking at somebody, you're looking at the chart, is different parts of your life are highlighted at different times. So depending on what's where, then it's going to be, okay, this is the area for us to focus on. When we're looking at the year, the things we have in common is, so from a numerology point of view, the universal number. So when we add all the numbers of, 2023 together, we end 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3, we end up with a 7. So that's the universal energy. So that's the overarching that everybody's going to be experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to have to take our first break here on the radio. And when we come back, we're going to delve into just that. What year is next year? And how is that affecting all of us? And then specifically, how do we move forward within the coming year? I'm your host, Bren Masson. This is Fresh Waves. And this morning we're talking with Judy O. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Today we're talking with Judy O, and we're actually talking, we'll call her Judy O, because that's her handle on Facebook, and ways to get a hold of her as Judy O. So this morning we're speaking with Judy O, and we're talking about numerology and astrology, and we're also talking about 2023. So happy New Year to anyone who is listening. Happy 2023 to one and all. Judy, you just mentioned before the break that 2023 adds up to 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 is 7. Now, what does that mean?
So when we're looking at the cycles of in the numbers, we're looking at a cycle of 1 to 9. And 1 is the beginning and 9 is the ending. And so if we know we're at 7, we're past halfway. And 7, it can be looked at as early harvest. 8 is often, you'll often see, 8 is related to money and power. You'll see it in different aspects, out there. But 7 is the time when the cycle that's been building, starting in the 1 year, is kind of reaching its peak. The way that if we look at it from a nature point of view, it's like early fruits on the tree. So some are ripe, some are still ripening, ready for the harvest for next year. And so what we can take a look at and we can see is, okay, so what were the seeds planted back 7 years ago? And on this level, we're talking, so some people are going to have this as their own personal life path, but we're talking about it from a universal point of view of this is like the global, this is humanity. And so the 7 is also about inner reflection. It's about faith. It's about trust. It's about truth. And there's also an energy of needing some space to be quiet. Often you'll find somebody, let's say born on the 7th, needs their own space. They need their downtime and they recharge that way. And, if we take a look across the big picture, I think it's pretty safe to say around the world that, we kind of need to breathe a bit. So if we take a look at that, for example, we can see that things like meditation and maybe yoga and things like that would be very good to be picking up this year because those embrace the same ideas. And it's also bringing peace, like mental peace, of having some peace of mind. So, and if we understand that we will make up the collective, if we take, even if it's not your own year, if we take this into account, and even from a business point of view, okay, if this is the energy of the 7 that's out there, then it's also going to give us an idea of what's going to work from, marketing point of view or business point of view. So part of the 7 is about doing your homework and actually research and things like that. And it's also quite direct in its speech. So if we take time to reflect and be still then our speech is going to be stronger and clearer because we know what we're going to say. And it's also going to be that it's like we've it's been an interesting few years that we've gone through, and we're still in a big transition. Mm-hmm. And I think given the landscape of the last year or two, people are at the point now of really asking who do they trust, what do they trust, and that's where we've got to find our own truth. Instead of, listening to the powers that be and, just following everything without knowing that is actually right for you. Mm-hmm. So, and, if truth is around, then it's going to be interesting to see what truth comes to light this year too.
Yeah, I think you're right in that respect. Now, did numerology and astrology predict the pandemic?
I don't think it predicted it. What it does show, what it does show is it shows a transition. It could certainly look, and often this stuff is much easier with 2020 hindsight.
Yes, for
and
sure.
then looking back to to match it up. But certainly something, with this big transition that we're in, something has to come in order for the change to come. Mm-hmm. So, we look back in history and there was war or there was pandemics. So when, from an astrological point of view, they could see a relationship to, I think, Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu, yes.
Spanish flu, yeah. So there was a correlation with a similar astrological pattern that was around recently to back at the time of Spanish flu. So you can see, so that, and when there's times of big times of change and transition, things have to break down in order to come into the new. And so sometimes it's war. So there would have been other times where they would have seen revolution and war too. So there are correlations, but to be able to predict it's exactly this, not so likely. They can also, so there is some, and far more fine tuned to what I'm saying. So there are people that were able to predict is kind of, you have to be careful with the word predict, right?
Yes, it is. It's a tricky word, isn't it?
It's a tricky word. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can see, let me say, you can see the trend coming. You can see other things that are correlated. I mean, even yesterday I was listening to somebody talking about Pluto, because Pluto is all part of this. And, she was talking back about 1500s and the dissolution of the monastery, and then the 1800s, the American French Revolution and colonization. And so here we are coming back to a similar pattern again. So, but what does it look like this time? Because, all the past experiences or these periods of, 12 years, 20 years, 200 years, like all these periods, they're all building on each other, right? So we're in a different place just like I was saying with the numbers. We're in a different place experiencing that planetary position, just in a different time with a different group of people. So we're always going to have a different experience with it. But like I said, there are themes that are going to run through.
Exactly. The themes might be the same, but the players are different, and they're very specific to specific times. So if someone's trying to do their numerology and they've got their birth date, do they take the day plus the month plus the year and total it? Or do you do the day with the one number or two numbers? If there's two numbers, you add them together. So if your birthday is the 27th, you would add the 2 and the 7 and get 9?
Yeah. So when you add those two together, you're going to get 9, but you're also going to look at that 9 comes from 2 and 7 as a as opposed to 5 and 4, right?
Oh, I see.
So it's going to give you a different story about that number.
Right.
And then, and then how do you play that out? And, where is it in your lineup of your birthday or the years that you're looking at, right? So even from a point of view, so when you add all the numbers together in your birthday, it gives you your life path. And so when you add all those numbers together, you're going to get double digits. Some of the younger ones won't, but for most of us are going to get double digits. And then you add those two numbers together to give you a single digit. And so you would say those numbers.
Okay, so just for an example, if your total number is 33. Yes. Do you work with the 33 or do you go 3 plus 3 is 6 and work with the 6?
So both.
Both. Okay. So what does a 33 and a 6 mean then?
So how are we applying it, right? So the 33 is actually a master number, which means that the person with the 33 would have had, and the fact that there's, the two digits that are the same, shows that person has amplified experience of that 3 energy. So like we were talking about, earlier I was talking about the 3. So here we are with the 3 again. So the 33 is probably would have had, often, let's just say this, often I find people with 3s have had challenges with family relationships, especially with parents. And from the point of view of something was missing, maybe feeling of unrequited love or misunderstanding or a lot of criticism and judgment. And something will be related to them being able to express themselves fully. And the 33 too is often they find, later in life is where life gets better and they understand maybe some of the hardships they went through in order to bring it to fruition. When you see the 6, this person, a 33-6 is going to be somebody who's creative, not necessarily, it may be creative, like tangibly in crafts and art and such like, but it could also be in expression. So it could be through music, it could be through dance or drama or speaking or so they've definitely come with a voice. They've definitely here to share their voice and to uplift other people. And then the 6 is also related to vision, and it's also related to acceptance. So part of the healing of the challenges of the growth of the 3 into their mastery. So like we were talking about before, the 3, the mastery of having your voice, the mastery of just being yourself. One of the things about a 3 can be difficult is that they're not here to build something. They're more here to be. And we don't live in a world of, let's just be. Yeah. Or be accepted for being as opposed to doing. And so that can be part of the challenge of the 3. And then the 6 would be, when they have a vision, it's amazing. Like 3 is also about manifesting and creating. And so when they have a vision of something big, they can really create it. But at the time when they can't see what they're creating, it can be really challenging. And especially on the emotional side, because the 3 is related to emotional sensitivity as well. Huh. And, the 6 could turn into a healer. The 6 could, lots of 6s are healers. 6 is nurturing too. So what I would say is, so their voice is going to come across rather than a voice of authority, it's going to be more like they may have authority within their voice for the topic they're talking about, but not the king of the castle authority.
The king of the castle authority often comes to the narcissist, doesn't it? Anyway.
So it may be a much, it may be a much gentler voice. It's interesting, I mean, like I said, I've got a life path 3. And so, my sensitivity, emotionals and emotions, there were times when they were definitely told they were my liabilities, and I took it on as my liabilities. But what you move into later with the 3 is you get to understand the value of the emotional capacity. You understand the value of sensitivity, and you're able to hold the space for people in a way that others aren't able to, because you can connect on a level that, with maturity, you can hold the understanding of the emotions that person is going into, but you're not feeding them. And often what happens with the 3 is the emotion, people focus on their emotions as opposed to the words they're saying. That's one of the challenges. They focus on, and then the more they focus on that person's emotions, and instead of what they're saying, the more the 3 gets frustrated because just listen to what I'm saying. So, with maturity, you're able to understand that somebody can be in a very emotional space. They can feel that you have compassion, especially with the 6, that you have compassion and understanding for them, but you're not going down the hole with them. And
right.
So you help them to be able to be more centered and to be able to see it from a different perspective. Wow.
That's fascinating. It's almost as though the numerology is it is giving people a sense of direction, but it's in the same sense, I think, also telling them where they might be standing on the wrong rock and they're about to get, hit by the big wave kind of thing, just as an analogy. Because if you are feeling frustrated enough to pick up the phone or to go on Facebook and find someone who can help you in these directions and think, oh, Judy O looks like an interesting person to start with, I'll phone her. And then you're looking for direction. Things aren't working the way you want them to. You're feeling very frustrated. Then you get the numbers and you think, well, that's right. Everybody's focusing on me being this emotional mess, which I am, or not me personally, but, the person might say that. Mm-hmm. And then nobody's listening to what I'm saying. And then you could say, well, yes, that's classic of the 3s. Now, okay, let's take it to the next step. What do we do about it? If that's who you are as a 3, then what do you do about it?
Exactly. And I mean, I remember the year, and actually, so we're talking about 2023 as a 7 year. Well, in my own personal 7 year was the year I gained the awareness of the value of the sensitivity and the emotion. The reason I was so good at feng shui was because I energetically read the energy, right? The same, the same with, I can hold, I understand what it feels like to be so frustrated and can't find a solution. I know what that feels like. So when somebody else is in that place, I'm not trying to get them out of it. I can help them be there and see what they need to see next. So they move out, they move out of it. Not, I remember, people say, sometimes you just can't sometimes you find your answers. So you have to find your own answers. People can tell you, especially like that 3 energy, just let it go. And it's like, no, I can't let it go. But then when the numbers showed me this one piece, it's like, okay, I'm an apple, they're an orange, and I keep trying to get apple juice from an orange.
Exactly.
And you realize, okay, like, give it up.
Yeah, either you have to change and want to have orange juice, or if you're seeking apple juice, you have to go and find the apple juice.
Exactly. And so you just do it from this place of awareness and peace, and it's just like, okay, I've been barking up the wrong tree, right? It's like trying to expect, it's like as a parent, that's what I liked about numerology as a parent, because you can see how your children all do things differently. I mean, one of my daughters has some threes or whatever. And so I can look at it and say, okay, what she said was right on. The delivery sucked, but that's part of the growth of the three, right?
Right. Yeah.
I know my delivery has sucked at times, right? So, the same is, are you hanging out with a bunch of people who are all, or eights, for example, and so their values are going to be different than what your values are. If you're a 3, you value the experience. If you're 8, you value the tangible outcome.
And so what about the 6? If you're the 3 plus 3, so you're amplified 3, now throw in a 6.
Yeah. So the 6 is, you can kind of think of 6 as like the mothering and the kind of caretaking energy on one level. It's the healer. It's the, it's also visionary. 6 is going to, what else can I say about the 6? 6. So there's a nurturing capacity to the 6.
But then you would combine that with the traits of the 3 because you've got the 3s going on in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then so that's where the conversation comes in, because then when I'm speaking to the person, then we're digging deeper, right? Like this is just kind of surface, like this is kind of, it's this. And that's where we have to be careful. If somebody's very literal, they're going to take things. I like to hold numerology kind of like ingredients. It's like, you've got a herb, or you've got eggs. How many ways can we use eggs,
Yes.
And so, so it's like, okay, in this case they're scrambled, and in this case they're making a cake rise. Like, so they're going to be different and different. So I love to work with the numbers that way. And it's like, okay, so where are you? And that's where the beauty comes in when we're, going deeper with the astrology and stuff, because then it's like, okay, so, these are the people you want to be working with. Okay, so we've got the information we've got from the numerology, but then we've got some other information from the astrology, and then we've got a timing component coming in. And that's when it gets really, that's this whole strategy and the potential and possibility and like, okay, here we go, is the part that I get excited about. I personally love working with the new moon energy. And I actually teach people how to work with the new moon energy. And the new moon energy is an opportunity for us to plant seeds of what we want. So we can look at it from a wishing point of view. Okay, so this gives us a lovely opportunity for us to kind of look at, how can we work with the moon energy, right? So if we take a look at the new moon, the Capricorn new moon is about long-term goals and long-term plans. So, and with the energy that we're going to be entering the new year, ending this year and entering the new year, there's this reality check of, what can I accomplish? What can I achieve? What can I put in place in order for long-term goals and aspirations to come to fulfillment? Yeah. So definitely, all of us can take on that piece of, what do we want long-term? And as we end December and we go into January in this Capricorn energy, it is accomplished, but it's accomplishment through dedication and hard work and step by step.
Mm-hmm. And does that play into the 7 that next year will be? I mean, the 7 obviously is going to be extremely generalized because it's the whole planet is in the year of the 7.
Another way of looking at the 7 energy is, where I am in my life, have I accomplished the things I want to achieve? Because the next number is the 8, is the achievement. But is it also satisfying my soul? Is there soul fulfillment in it?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we know we're going to go into an 8, we're going to go into a 9, and we're going to go into a 1, a new beginning of a brand new cycle. Well, some things take longer for us to transition into than others. But, us setting this idea of, am I fulfilled? Am I heading in the direction of fulfillment? Am I heading in am I living my truth? Like, am I true to myself, right? So if we look at the 7 from that level overarching, then what is it that over the next, while are you going to bring in? And also, how does that play into the humanitarian collective? Because at the end of the day, what each of us does influences the outcome of our community, our family, our greater circles, right? Like what we buy at the grocery store is going to impact the
yes,
economy,
for sure.
As individuals, and that's what's getting stronger. Is the individuals are getting stronger that way. So I know I'm kind of all over the place here, but so the 7, so the overarching of the 7 is. Are you, you can ask yourself, am I living true to myself? Is my, if I was true to myself, how would that then make the world a better place, if you will? How would me sharing my truth make a difference around me? So, and what do I need to do? So from the Capricorn long-term planning piece, what do I need to do to start bringing that in? Do I need to make space to walk in the woods and just have some downtime? Do I need to make space to do meditation if that's your cup of tea? Like, what do I need to do to bring this space in so I can actually breathe and let some of these things float to the surface that I haven't made time for.
Mm-hmm. And as a collective, looking at global issues like global warming, or climate change, or green space and the Oak Ridges Moraine, bringing it closer to home. Perhaps the 7 is the year where we really start to pay attention.
Yeah.
And then the 8 might be the year of, isn't the 8 the year of doing? Like it's more doing energy?
It is more doing energy and achieving energy.
Mm-hmm.
So... yeah. So, what's that going to, and it's also like the other way of looking at it too is like the 7 is 7 can kind of be the aha, and the 8 is the I'm living it fully. Like now I'm really owning it and working in it. So it's like I said before, in that 7 year, I had the aha of, damn it, my sensitivity and emotional capacity is my asset. So then the 8 might be in my marketing material, I name it. In my conversations, I name it. This is who I am. This, or I write a blog about the brilliance of emotional sensitivity. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of, where the shifts come. And I mean, we get 7 days, we're constantly going through a cycle of 9 days, 9 months, 9 years. Like we're constantly and I teach a program called Focus and Flow. And that's what we do is you can pick the activities that you do that are related to your own natural cycle so that you got the beauty of, like we talked about in the beginning, we got the beauty of you cover all the bases of work and life because the natural cycle does that. There's a time to sow the seed and there's a time to reap the harvest. And so there's days when you're going to have high productivity and you're going to be doing boom, 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 boom. And there's going to be other days when it's like, no, you know what? I need to recharge today. And I mean, it doesn't mean everybody gets to take a day off on a 7 day, but at the same time, it's okay. If the only time I make space for myself in the new year is once every 9 days, then what impact is that going to have by the end of the year if you haven't been doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? so with the new moon, and there's a bit more to the process, but bottom line is you can make 10 wishes. And there's a book by Jan Spiller that I absolutely love, and I've been using it since 2003, I think. It goes back a long way. Anyway, it's called New Moon Astrology by Jan Spiller. And in it, it lays out how you can use these natural cycles to use the new moon to set intentions or to start new things or to write wishes. So in this, it's writing 10 wishes each month. And what happens is if we capture the energy of that particular cycle, so for example, the new moon in Capricorn, it's about taking charge. It's about tradition and reputation and accomplishments and achieving goals and respect. And so what we can do is we can then tie wishes and intentions related to that. It then amplifies it. Now, we can make any wish, but if we use that energy by using that particular time, it's going to be stronger. The energy changes. February 1st, we have a new moon in Aquarius, and that's more about aspirations and unexpected. So that's unexpected results and surprises that also come in with Aquarius.
And I think on a global level, I think 2023 is going to be a good year. I think everyone has done a lot of soul searching over the last 2 years. And I think going forward, there's going to be a lot of positive change in 2023. At least I hope so anyway.
Well, I think the bottom line is each of us to take our own responsibility, for ourselves and for the impact that we have around us. And, and the choices that we make, with a larger worldview is, me, we just go back to the shopping. Is me buying this product actually in alignment with my values on a larger scale? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is it taking the world in the direction that I want it to go? All
right. Well, thank you so much for your insights today, Judy. I've really appreciated everything you have to say. If people want to get a hold of you to find more about themselves personally and what this year coming forward is to them personally, how do they get a hold of you?
So the easiest place to find me is judyo.ca on my website. And my email is clarity@judyo.ca. So
okay, that's great. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. I wish you a very happy new year. I hope this is a great year for you and your family.
Thank you, and for you too. I hope it's a wonderful, wonderful year.
Well, that's it for Fresh Waves today. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to hear this broadcast again, you can go to our YouTube channel. It's Fresh Waves Radio. Hit subscribe. We love to have subscribers. And we will talk to you again next week on Fresh Waves. Have a wonderful day and Happy New Year, everyone.